Oh. Chief Kingdom, welcome in to the AP Film Room, an exciting edition of the show on the Arrowhead Pride YouTube page, Facebook page, Twitter page. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are fresh off a Chiefs victory in the wild card round over the Miami Dolphins, 26-7. Shout out Craig with the Lions logo already in the chat saying "Go KC." We'll take it. We'll take it. But I am Ron Kopp Jr., the lead analyst at the site. As always, are my guys. Got all three of us. I feel like it's been a while since we've had all three of us. I told the people it was my fault last time, Nate. So don't you worry. Hey, we got everybody. We got Caleb James at CJ Scoobs on Twitter. We got Nate Christensen at NateCH32. Nate, I'll start with you, man. Chiefs fresh off a win over the Dolphins. How you feeling about kind of just the vibes of the team going into the divisional round?
Wasn't that surprised. I had picked the game to be 24-13. So what did it end at? 24-7, 26-7. So it was generally it was generally the range I thought it was going to be. So I wasn't super surprised. And that was kind of the feeling I got watching the tape as well. I honestly didn't. They played well. I just didn't really take a lot away because I thought that exactly the ways that the Dolphins were weak were the ways they were weak, and I thought the Chiefs did a good job of exploiting that while still having a lot of issues overall. But great defensive performance and adequate offensive performance.
Yes, sir. Caleb, I think you're still probably thawing out from Saturday, just like I am. But how you feeling about the Chiefs heading in?
I'm good now, man. It was like 33 or 34 today. It felt like I was in like a beach or something, man. But it's always nice. Obviously, there's a big game this week because we all have our Chiefs hats on. I feel like we only do that when there's a big game coming down the pipe. But, I mean, yeah, it was a real good game. The Chiefs defense dominated from front to start. They made the Dolphins want to quit. The offense, they struggled at times badly in the red zone, but they were just good enough to beat a pretty depleted, cold Miami football team.
Yeah, Dolphins didn't really stand a chance in those temperatures. And that's where, it does feel like this could maybe be more of a fool's gold game than, really a game they could build, a lot of momentum off. But let's go with the positive. Let's go with the optimism that this team's gonna build some momentum, especially on defense, because that's where we're gonna start tonight. Again, you guys both mentioned the defense dominating, really allowed only one big play all game, right? The Tyreek Hill touchdown. Caleb, you took a close look at the defensive line performance, which really, that from start to finish, run defense, pass defense, they really did stand out. So why don't you take it away and tell us about how the Chiefs defensive line played against Miami? Oh, you're muted.
Wow. Rookie.
There we go. Good start.
One mistake in the divisional round. But just looking at it, we started out, obviously you got Hill and Waddle, but as cold as it was, the Dolphins had to kind of come out and try to run the ball a little bit, and the Chiefs quickly denied them. And the Chiefs kind of came out in more like an odd look. They came out with a head up nose on a few plays, couple of 4 eyes or like real tight head up fives, and some overhangs. Omenahue's an overhang on one side, Tranquil the other. But it's a nice play by Turk Wharton here. He's at the 4 eye. The Dolphins are running their little pitch play, part of this, their outside zone package. But, this guard for Miami, and Miami's interior offensive line just isn't very good in general. But Turk just does a good job of creating separation. He works up the field. He sets the edge. Dana's pursuing hard. So is, they're opening up something for Tranquil there. Big Mike Pennell, he actually played quite a few snaps this week. He doesn't really give up any movement. He's washing the offensive line laterally. And as explosive as Devon Achane is, he didn't have anywhere to go. They set the table there nicely for Tranquil. Here's another run, they try to run power, inside run game, not really where Achane exceeded at a lot this year. I'll just let it play out, but really you see that play side, Jones, him and Karlaftis kind of pinch down on everything. They tighten it up, and then you see Omenahue's pressing the right tackle down into the hole there. Omenahue had an excellent game, I thought, and then, their center is like a former tackle in college who wasn't very good at tackles, Liam Eisenberg. Now he's playing center, and Mike Pennell is just pushing him into the backfield. He gets that big arm around Achane, and they just smother him for nothing. Drew Tranquil gets involved also. But the defensive backs were excellent this week, but so was the pass rush. And let's just start out with this play. It's 4th and 2, And I thought this play was awesome. You see you take a look at how much attention they pay to Chris Jones. They did this the first time they played him. But Omenihu was kind of like heating up still a little bit when they first played. He didn't really make too much of an impact against the Dolphins in Germany. This time he does. Teron Armstead kind of tries to jump set him here because it's 4th and 2, get on quick. But he gets his hands inside first. He's winning. He's got one-on-one protection, and he does a real nice job. He kind of starts to bend there, throws the rip, and he actually gets around this, pushes Tua off the spot. You see Willie Gay is in a spy here. Oh, Omenihu gets one hand on him, but it's just enough. Willie closes in. Bad pass by Tua. Incomplete pass. And then we get to see some of the fun, man. George Karlaftis turned in a heck of a second season, and he started out the playoffs with an absolute bang. And this is the end zone view of that play where Snead is bullying Tyreek. But you see there's some more bullying going on here because Karlaftis is going against Austin Jackson. Jackson's trying to throw some high hands early, trying to kind of knock him off his spot a little bit. But that doesn't bother Karlaftis because he comes back with a long arm. He's got it right underneath his neck. He said, you want to throw your hands on my face, I'm going to grab your neck, push you into the backfield here. And he lays a big hit on Tua there, man. That's, with Tua being the left-handed quarterback, that's essentially – a blindside sack, and he puts a big hit on him. You see the end of the altercation between I wouldn't even call it an altercation between Snead and Tyreek there, but just overall great play by Karlaftis there. And then the play that him and Jones were joking about after the game, they just take advantage of the Dolphins protection rules. Teron Armstead has to go down in the protection to take the most dangerous, who is Tranquil. That's leaving Karlaftis free off the edge. And at the same time, the delayed blitz for McDuffie actually opens up a one-on-one for Jones against the center, and they both just meet there. So the D-line getting some good help from Spags there, but they both collapse the play and finish the play. And, I thought that it was a good game by the defensive line. I thought that it's an underrated thing that they came out and they stuffed the run early. They did a lot of really good things rushing the passer. Omenihu continues to be active. Jones and Karlaftis, all three of them are heating up, and even some of the interior guys, like Mike Pennell, kind of came out of nowhere and had a really solid game along the interior. So it was fun to watch, the defense kind of get out there and attack as the game went along.
Nate, you're talking about the defense too, but before we get to yours, just obviously just from watching the defense and the defensive line, are you feeling confident? That they got. They have like a good group up front in terms of pass rush, in terms of run defense. How did you like the defensive line from your view?
Pass rush, yes. They've been pretty consistent for quite a while now. When you have the pressure packages that the Chiefs have, when you have 3 linebackers that are really good as pass rushers and interchangeable pass rushers, there's just a lot of different ways the Chiefs can get pressure in general. So I'm confident in that. Run defense-wise, I'm still a little bit worried. Miami, once they lost Connor Williams at center, they couldn't do any of their pulling stuff anymore with the pin pull outside zone stuff, and that just destroyed their run game. So I'm still skeptical on that because I still think the Chiefs' weakest part of their defense is up the spine against the run, although it was very good on Sunday. But yeah, so I wrote, it's not quite out yet. I have to finish it tonight. But I wrote about the Chiefs defending the middle of the field against Tua, and what I've written about in the preview article prior to this is that what smart defensive coordinators had realized after 2 years of tape is we just have to take away Tua's kind of throwing windows over the middle of the field, because Tua's a very frustrating quarterback for me, because I think the way people talk about him is just not true. Tua gets treated that he's this really good processor and smart player, and you turn him on, it's it's not really that. What Tua's really good at, what the scheme is really good at, is manufacturing kind of throwing windows for him, and he has a very quick release and good timing over the middle of the field. But when you face good defensive coordinators like Sean McDermott, Mike McDonald, and Steve Spagnuolo, they're able to take those away. So Tua only had 2 passes between 10 and 20 yards in between the numbers this week. Only 2. And typically you're going to see him getting 10 to 12 of those a game. So the Chiefs did a pretty good job of limiting that. And there wasn't necessarily one concrete reason, but I just figured to show a variety of clips. This is on the Mike Edwards interception. This is a play people actually were talking about a lot online. The Chiefs show... So to kind of explain how quarterback reads work, there's a lot of different quarterback reads. There's mirrored sides, pick a side reads, full progressions. But generally in the NFL, especially on third down, a lot of your passing concepts are tied to, is it open field or closed field? So are there 2 safeties deep, or basically one safety playing center field. And especially for Miami, that's how they tether a lot of their passing concept for Tua. Well, Spagnuolo is going to show a 2 high, a 1 high, and eventually get back into a 2-man, all within the span of a couple seconds. Mike Edwards is playing this side of the field, then he flips. And what this does for Tua is when he sees Mike Edwards go in the middle of the field, Tua, being the quote-unquote anticipator, is like, all right, I have one-on-one this backside access to Tyreek Hill. But what it really is 2-man. So this cornerback can press up against Tyreek Hill even more aggressively because he's got help over the top. Well, Tua's not really like a processor. So by the time he gets back to this backside, he's already guessed this coverage wrong because he just didn't notice what was going on post-snap. And that just like alters his like feet and his eyes. And he doesn't really have the arm talent to like mitigate those issues at all. Like just watch his eyes. That's why I include this. Like his eyes go back to the backside and you're just like, like, what do I do? Like he's scanning. He's not lined up to throw at all. And that's why his throw sails. So the throw looks really bad, obviously, but it's mainly because of what the Chiefs are doing pre-snap. I'm actually going to skip this play. Give me 1 second. But yeah, it's not like changing the look like pre-post snap, stuff like that. Shout out Nick Bolton. I thought Nick Bolton played a really good game of coverage. I was worried about that coming into the game. Miami's going to run one of their staple plays here. It's just a play that very few teams have had they've had very few teams have succeeded in defending this. And it's basically their staple concept of this like slant wheel and like the flat on the backside. It's mainly, it's testing your linebackers to kind of pick a read, and it gives Tua kind of an option. It's a 3-layer read. And Washington Bulldogs, so when they sift this backside player here, typically you're going to see that linebacker come like screaming downhill. That's where this throwing window opens for Tua. But you kind of notice when Nick Bolton, he gains a little bit of depth to kind of take away that window. He starts to kind of work kind of backwards so that Tua like quickly gets to the flat. And you kind of notice like Tua's eyes after that. Like he's like, like hitchy, like pumps. He's like, oh no, the linebacker wasn't like gone like he usually is. That's why like the throw looks bad. And again, this gets into like the processing part. Like Tua's like overall processing isn't great. So like when you kind of take that like throwing window away from him, he doesn't really know how to recover. 2-man, a lot of 2-man this week from the defense. Like I mentioned, it allowed the Chiefs to get into doubles for Hill and Waddle, and then they could play man-to-man elsewhere. And the Chiefs just had more talent across the board on their defense than the Dolphins kind of auxiliary players. McDuffie's going to take away this crosser. Bolton gets away with a bit of a hole in this angle route, but that's, that happens. It's the NFL. And by, this is kind of their Chiefs way of playing aggressive without necessarily blitzing, although I have one blitzing clip at the end, because when you blitz the Dolphins, Tua is just going to throw over the top, and that's how you allow explosive plays. But you can still play mana that you just have to play kind of a doubles or some type of 2-man. That's what the Chiefs do. They allowed their players to play really fast, not have to do a lot of like zone processing. But still, they weren't, compromising the structure of their defense. They were still like able to give adequate help overall. Like I mentioned, the Chiefs really didn't blitz a ton until the fourth quarter because, like, with the Dolphins mix run pass so well against play action, blitzing can be an issue. But once the score got big and it was a pass heavy script, Tua was so scrambled by the end of the fourth quarter, he really was not reading the field well at all. And I thought the Chiefs manager just kind of took advantage of that. They're going to send kind of a cover zero here. And from Tua's perspective, what I'm guessing is he's got 2 hot reads here. The first is this like motion out of the backfield. Since the Chiefs are in man and they had been showing man to this kind of out swing motion all game, this wasn't anything new. And you see Bolton kick out. That's the first read. If Bolton gets caught up on his corner, then that's an easy throw. Well, Bolton does a really good job getting over the top, staying with this. Tua instantly should be hitting this backside right here. This guy's wide open. That's an easy first down. But again, Tua's eyes, his feet, he doesn't get through reads very well. And that when you're playing a defensive coordinator like Steve Spagnuolo, that's going to be a problem because Spags eventually was like, if I just take away your kind of first throwing window, I'm going to force you have to reset and win with your arm. And Tua simply does he can't do that. It's just not part of his overall skill set. So I thought the Chiefs did a good job kind of preying on the tendencies of the Dolphins, taking away stuff that made it easy. And then there was no worry about the secondary play happening like it does with a Josh Allen. So that's where I thought they were successful, especially compared to the first game. Because in the first game, they had good throwing windows and Tyreek was open. This time there wasn't. So that was a good adjustment by the Chiefs.
Yeah, you're right. No, I think the first game it was more about they just weren't hitting them as much. In this game, they weren't even there. Caleb, I mean, with all that kind of info, kind of seeing him break down, Tua just maybe not taking advantage as much. how confident are you that, the team can go in and play a Josh Allen? You're going to be talking about a little bit of Josh Allen here in a second, so I don't give away too much. But just in terms of from the Chiefs' perspective, it is a lot different of an animal, right? How much different is it playing a Josh Allen in terms of a pass rusher than it is playing Tua?
The dynamic quarterbacks are kind of all that's left, like the non-mobile guys, like, Tua, Flacco, or they got weeded out pretty quickly because at this point in the season, you got to be able to take off and run. This is the most Tua ran all year, and it was like 2 scrambles on like some longer second, third down type looks. I do like, though, seeing Bolton play a lot better against, some speedy, quick backs, though. I remember when I did the little review last week on HN, I remember the teams that stopped him the best in the passing game were teams that let linebackers run with him. You kind of just have to do something like that just because, if he gets in space and takes advantage. But, it was just a great job by Spags. Mix and match the game plan. It's the Chiefs have a lot of intelligent players on their defense. It's good work by them to process what they're being told to do.
Yeah, no, that's a good point about the athletic quarterbacks because there's, if the Chiefs do want to make a run, there's a good chance it's going to have to be Josh Allen, then Lamar Jackson, then, I guess the Niners. That's a little different story in the NFC. But, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, Baker Mayfield, hey, there's some athleticism there, he says very jokingly, sarcastically. But this AFC playoffs, 100%. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. I'm really curious. And we're going to talk about a little more Josh Allen. But before we move on to my offense, just, I don't know, any more final defensive thoughts? And I guess let me just put it this way. This Chiefs defense really obviously took advantage of a Dolphins offense. Not, that wasn't really going to be, winning this game. Honestly, we all knew that. But can this do you see this defense still playing at a level that they can carry a Chiefs offense that maybe only scores low 20s, mid 20s to a run? Are they still playing that well?
They're definitely not going to be successful against the Bills because the biggest difference between Allen, there's so many differences between Allen and Tua, but Allen can misread a play, he will frequently, but the thing that makes Allen really fun to me to watch when they play Spags is Allen can just break the play open and just destroy whatever you're doing kind of regardless.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of makes it fun is that you can definitely you can bait Josh Allen a lot. Josh Allen, he's improved the processing part, but he gets very chaotic. His feet get chaotic, his accuracy gets chaotic, but man, he makes those 4 plays a game where you're just our defense was perfect. We had the perfect coverage call, we had the perfect blitz or whatever, it just doesn't matter. So that that's what the Chiefs are kind of having to deal with this week is Allen gives you a certain margin of error as an offense just because he makes insane plays. And Spags can have a great game plan. I expect him to have a great game plan, but there's just going to be times where it's just beat because that's what the level quarterback is.
And to Caleb's, that's exactly what, mobile quarterbacks do. And Josh is almost one of the hardest just because he's so hard to tackle. I think this team takes a lot of pride in open field tackling. And there's only so much you can do against a big behemoth like Josh Allen or the Lamar Jacksons of the world. But all right, let's talk some offense. First of all, shout out my guy Kyle. Shout out my sipping skills. I'm just now seeing that. So shout out Kyle on Twitter. Hey, he was at the game too. So give Kyle a little love because he braved that weather with me. He was there as well. So shout out your boy. But from that game on the offensive side, the thing I kind of wanted to point out at first was, hey, we talked about this in the group chat. It wasn't the most effective running day, right? It wasn't the most successful running game. It was actually kind of poor when you look at the success rate, right? I think, was it 19%, Nate?
Yeah.
Yikes. So when you just maybe isolate the opening drive, the success rate was very high on run plays because the thing I really liked about it was they diversified it right out of the gate, right? We didn't just see a bunch of outside zones. This was actually the first carry for Pacheco. And it's one back power. We're pulling Tooney into the hole. He's doing a great job of picking up that play side linebacker. This play actually gets ruined because Noah Gray just can't kind of hold his own on the kick out block here. Kind of lets 91 get inside him because if that block gets held, there's a chance with Trey kind of manhandling 45 that Pacheco can sneak through there and find a lane. And that's what these gap runs do, right? Is that they allow for big plays, home run plays to possibly happen. Because on the next play, they're going to run another gap run, right? But in a different look. Now we're looking at counter. This is GH counter where we're going the same direction. We're going to the right. Tooney's pulling, but now he's the kick out block. and Gray's wrapping around as the pull through. And this one gets blocked a lot better. Now, this is where Caleb, I kind of want to ask you, because, I don't want to get on 74 too hard here, depending on what you kind of feel like. But do you feel like 74 could get to the second level a little quicker here? Because I feel like if he does, and he gets this seal on 51 just a little quicker, Pacheco could pop this outside and make this more of an outside run to the hash number sideline. Instead, if you kind of see here, 74 just gives a little, just hangs out a little, hangs out for a second, trying to give 65 some room, and allows 51 to get over here a little more. So he has to kind of turn him and block him, which it definitely still allows the hole open, right? But am I being a little too critical of Juwan here? What do you think?
Maybe, because he's got to be looking for B gap first. That's his first responsibility, and really, it's supposed to be hitting inside. Tooney's hitting the kick out, and so is Gray. So they're wanting it to hit on the inside. I wouldn't really worry about that second level guy coming down too much. I think it was still a good job by Juwan to keep his eyes in the gap and then work up and then kind of turn the guy out and not let him really crash into the hole there. So I don't really have a problem with that.
I love it, because that's the thing. I do think, either way, the way he attaches onto the block, that's exactly what you want to see. And then you got the outside zone look here where, old traditional, two tight ends, each side, just gonna get wide, get to the left. And I love Pacheco's maneuvering here, right? Reading Creed's block, getting inside that, then getting back outside right away, then getting back inside, then getting back outside. You love Pacheco, even though it's not the smoothest, right? You want to see, ideally that's a little more smooth of cuts. And we've kind of talked about that all year. But that's just Pacheco, and he's doing a much better job of setting himself up in those situations. To even though he's not the smoothest cutter in and out, he's still reading it correctly and putting himself in the right lanes in those zone runs. But here, what I also want to point about the run game is we saw them just kind of get into 13 personnel and just say, all right, we're running super power, this is what we called in high school when you have that extra tight end on the line and you're running power. So you got all three of these guys down blocking, and then you have the puller being that kick out block. Then you still have Tooney pulling through. The super power look at 13 personnel, just really, getting down and dirty. And this is where Juwan and Trey just really made Christian Wilkins feel them. Watch them here, absolutely bury him on the down block, and Trey just keeps going. Trey's relentless here. And I know, Caleb, you talked about it on Twitter, this week, and we both saw it at the game where, he was just on dog mode at the game, where he was standing in between plays, during breaks, just staring at the Dolphins huddle. This is the kind of mentality that the Chiefs offense needs to continue to give the offensive line in the playoffs. Run plays that are pulling plays, gap runs. This is Clyde, big kind of strong run, but it's because you're allowing this offensive line to just fire out and down block and just only worry. There's no on zone block. It's so finesse, right? It's so you got to read stuff. You got to be patient when it's down block, when it's power and counter. The only thing they're worried about is down blocking and pushing defensive linemen down and collapsing them. And I think they need to continue to lean on that. I know we all agree with that. But when the pass game got going, it was really cool to see Rashee Rice have a career game, right? I think this was a cool play for him. Kind of a simple example, but he really is starting to do some of the same things that, Mahomes and Kelsey did throughout their careers to really, excel and take over games. When teams are just playing this straight up zone coverage, you're just going to see Rice run that easy intermediate route where he's just kind of playing at the sticks, and he just does a great job of finding space, right? Once he runs that route, he shuffles away from 45. It's better from the end zone angle. You're going to see him up here. He just shuffles away, right? That's just great job of getting away from the second level defender, that hook zone linebacker, and just making himself available to Mahomes. That's stuff that obviously we know the Chiefs receivers have struggled with all year. And then we see the strong run after catch. But it wasn't just that. He was also the Chiefs' main blitz beater, right? We saw him beat the blitz a few times and that's the thing. We kind of previewed this before the game. Like, the Dolphins were gonna kind of play all or nothing, do a lot of blitzing. And I think one thing that, that was susceptible with that was just they would try to pick up guys from depth, right? They'd play with this cushion, and guys like Rashee Rice are just going to take advantage of that on crossing routes like this, where you're just giving him so much cushion. And he does a great job of running vertical at first, not necessarily giving away. Although I think Four could have played this a lot better. I think Four doesn't do a very good job of getting on top of it. But at the same time, Rashee Rice kind of sets him up, plays vertical, and then gets across, takes advantage of McCole clearing him out. But this was also another one where, hey, this guy's just picking him up from depth. So why not just run a shallow crosser where he has to run all the way across formation, all the way downfield, and it just gives him enough space to get this first down. And so I think you're seeing Mahomes and Rice really just get on a page where it's cool to see. It's almost, Kelsey and Mahomes like with some of the crossing patterns, some of the, sitting in between zone defenders. But then the one thing I will say, I think red zone was obviously the prime example, the kind of the negative from Sunday, right, or Saturday, that they need to get better at finishing in the red zone. I will say the other part of that too, in my opinion, is, they need to finish drives by finishing the big plays they get. They manufactured some big plays on offense, chunk plays, whether it was Travis Kelce on a few occasions. We just saw the Rashee Rice one. But we saw a lot of times where they were able to find a deep pass down the field as well, and they just were not able to hook up with it. And the sad part about this one is it's blitz, right? And they're beating the blitz. Mahomes is beating the blitz deep. You want to see that. It works out perfectly. McCole obviously just loses it, or honestly, he just doesn't expect the ball to be thrown and doesn't see it at first and sees it too late. But what I really wanted to highlight is just how well the offensive line picks up this blitz, man. Just giving Mahomes the time. Let Clyde pick up 45, keep him off Mahomes, although 45 was just an absolute joke of a player. I'm not going to lie. Just an absolute liability of a player. He was a liability for Miami all night. But it's just, you can't waste those reps, right? You can't waste picking up a blitz that perfectly and giving him that shot. Kind of same here, even though the blitz wasn't picked up as well. Mahomes does a great job buying time, giving himself depth in the pocket, seeing what's going to happen, seeing he's going to have an outlet, and Kelsey just drops it. It's just, I know this is something that's just like, hey, it's gonna, it's gonna be corrected, it's gonna be fixed. But it's just, this team really needs to take advantage of the big plays that teams are giving them by blitzing or by playing them in man coverage, playing them in one high cover zero looks. And these are just two of the examples. There were more examples from the game. But all that to say is, the Chiefs offense, it was nice to see them get in that rhythm, right, of finding some pace in the run game, finding some pace, in big plays, chunk plays, first down, kind of play action passes or just, manufacturing chunk plays. But you still got to finish drives, still got to score more points than they did. And, whether it is in the red zone or just converting some of those big play opportunities. So I don't know, Nate, when you watched the offense, when you kind of saw how they performed, like, I know you kind of put it as adequately before, but was it more encouraging or discouraging in terms of how this team's going to finish the season?
I didn't feel great after watching the offensive film for a couple of things. One, I do agree they picked up blitzes super well this week. I think they had maybe one bad protection all game. Like, the thing that just like frustrates me still is like, they're just not a good running team, and it's been an issue all year. Like, Pacheco, I thought the explosive runs were good, but like, besides that,
they all happened right out the gate. Yes. Out the gate, though. Yes. Like, after the first
like three like awesome, well blocked runs. You're like, oh my god, why can't you do this like all the time? But like, they just still can't find consistency there. The one thing I would say, like, the shot plays were there for sure. Like, my issue though is like, Miami's pass rush was so bad. They just could not generate any edge pressure at all. And that's just not going to be a thing versus the Bills. The Bills have a very good pass rushers, both through the interior, on the edge, not as much, but Leonard Floyd's really good. Greg Rousseau, Epinesa, like, those guys are much better than the corpse of Melvin Ingram and Emmanuel Ogbah. So, like, that's like the thing that does concern me is like, I think that there's still like some weaknesses. Like, I'm still concerned about the offensive tackles. I'm still concerned about the run game. And I don't know. I just have no reason to believe that all those mistakes that they still had are going to be fixed after this long.
Yeah, it's fair to definitely feel that way. And it's fair to look at Miami's pass rush and be like, yeah, it's probably pretty easy to get into a rhythm passing offense when you have no.
They have like a single pressure on a 4-man rush, like maybe one or two. It was not many.
And yeah, and like you said, even when they blitzed it, Mahomes, and honestly, I think that had to do with kind of their personnel. Like, again, 45, just an absolutely terrible player, Duke Riley.
Yeah.
Caleb, any thoughts on the offense before you go ahead and give us a little Bills look ahead?
I would just echo some of what you guys have said. I will say, and whether that cold, 10 points feels a lot more like 20, just because at some point those guys are going to start to get cold also out there, even though they're moving around. But the only reason I can think they were looking so many deep balls to Hardman is at some point this week they're going to run him or MVS on a deep ball, but they're going to have like Justin Watson on the opposite side of the field one-on-one, and they're going to try to get it to him because he's about the only guy at this point I'd have any confidence in going to on the deep ball, which is fair. But, do you want me to go ahead and just get into the
I guess. Yeah, pull that up. I will say real quick on that. It was interesting to see McColl get all those targets, right, guys? Like, it was interesting to see him kind of become the deep target. And Justin Watson was covered up a few times. Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing and I didn't include his other two plays. I think it's been touched on enough. But he's just not good at the deep ball tracking part of it.
He just can't do it. I really don't get it. He's really fast. Like, how can he still not do this?
No, it is amazing because I mean the one that and I really should have pulled it up because I do want to make the point that Chris Jones leaped up off the bench and berated McColl on the field when he didn't finish through the last one that was kind of in the middle of the field. I think this team kind of is frustrated with those things too. So I would expect to maybe see MVS get those deep balls, instead of Justin Watson again. Like, because I agree with you, Caleb, that Justin Watson's the primary guy. I think they do want him to go deep first and foremost, but I think teams are picking up on that, and so that's why McColl or MVS would be openness maybe, and unfortunately, I think MVS might earn those reps back after this week. But go ahead and pull that up again. I didn't pull it up on the screen for us.
All right, let's get going here with that. And real quick, just before I get into this, this season you've seen Josh Allen look awesome. You've seen him look terrible. They changed OCs mid-season. The Chiefs lost to them earlier in the year. But really, what I think has helped Josh Allen out is they've gotten really efficient on first downs, and they've made it to where he doesn't have to take so many risks on the later down. Because, I mean, how many times have you watched a Josh Allen game and it's third and long and he just heaves up an arm punt just for the sake of throwing the ball down the field? They're trying to limit those plays where he just has to throw it. And I got a couple numbers for us real quick. So on first down plays against the Steelers, he completed 9 of 13 passes for 121 yards and a touchdown. A couple of those plays were sudden change, right off of a turnover. He also had a 13-yard rush. But really the thing and he only had 203 yards. So, I mean, that's about 1/3 and 2/3 of his yards just coming on first downs in the passing game alone. The thing with him is I think that it just sets him in rhythm to be able to get these little easy completions to start things out. And apologies, I was on the NFL Game Pass, so there's a little bit of that funky overlay that they like to put on there. But you see just some, motion out of the backfield here to 10. And it's, first play of the game, very first play of the game for the Buffalo. Allen's sitting here looking. The Steelers have their guy quite a ways off. It's like easy 5-yard completion, right? What's that do? Sets up a 2nd down and 5. They come out, they throw another pass, and then James Cook picks up a first down, resets the downs, which we're getting ready to see here. Again, apologies for kind of that funky overlay. I actually think that's the same play over again. I think I might have pulled up the wrong video file. Looks like I got the same one going here. Sorry about that. But no, I mean, I do think there is something to, the fact that they've gotten more efficient, and they were really good against the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers did go ahead and, they did tighten up there, a little bit later in the game and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't really, like anything that they could do because it was a little bit too late in the game. I'll go ahead and show this one. This was off of a sudden change. I had a compilation I made. I'm not sure where it is. This is right off of a turnover on first down. He just hits Kincaid over the top here. Real nice play up the seam. And, they're not afraid to take some shot plays on first down and sudden change on the other side of the field. That's something you got to be careful with if you're the Chiefs. If you turn the ball over, they really went to Kincaid a lot because pulling up another clip here.
Yeah, no, I think that play is a good example of, Nick Bolton is going to get tested on those vertical routes, on maybe. Yeah, exactly. But last time it was with the running back. This time Dalton Kincaid maybe playing little more within the, because that was a big play, and it's one thing to kind of cover the running back out of the backfield. You get a little more, a few steps on him, right? You kind of still, but the tight end's coming right off the line. Any sort of play action could draw him. So go ahead.
Yeah, and here's just another first down play. This is in the second half. See how far the Steelers are playing back. Dude just comes back on the ball, but all of a sudden he's got it. He's in space and one missed tackle. I mean, to me, for the Bills, when they had Ken Dorsey, I feel like he was just going for these giant shots all the time down the field. And that's so hard to do. They didn't have any sort of running game at that point. And now they're just kind of, they're dinking and dunking a little bit, but you see like just one missed tackle on a play like that. And all of a sudden, they flip the field 34 yards right there on a play that should have been about 10 or 12 just because of how soft that the defense is playing on there. And I also think in these kinds of situations like this, it is important to remember that Allen can also run a little bit too. They ran a little bit of zone read with him here. Try to get that pulled up. Yeah, they run a little bit of zone read here with him. And this time, this is late in the game. This is the fourth quarter, first down. And they're all looking towards Singletary. And Josh just pulls it, takes up the middle. Got to bring him down, makes a good tackle there. So, I mean, what can the Chiefs do a little bit to combat this on the play? There's 3 drives where the Bills went 3 and out, and those were both plays where Allen threw an incompletion on first down. But what can they do? Well, the Chiefs can come out and blitz a little bit. I think Spags would be probably better off running a couple of first down blitzes to throw off the timing, kind of like you see what the Steelers do here. The Steelers are going to bring pressure here, and they do a pretty good job of getting back here to Allen, making him uncomfortable. Still should have been a catch, though. It was a good pass by Allen. It still should have probably been caught, but ended up going, they run the next play. It's like 3 or 4 yards to James Cook, and then they don't convert third down. They have to punt. So, just looking at some of that stuff, I really thought they need to do quite a bit of a better job at, the Chiefs are going to have to do quite a good job at, winning first down, also putting him in a position where they can force a turnover on the later downs. Because really, when he gets comfortable and stuff, that's when he gets a rhythm. Those are rhythm building plays. Yeah. They kind of help him, clear his mind of distractions and stuff, kind of get him ready to go. I would be, if I'm the Chiefs, I wouldn't be afraid. I would not be afraid to heat him up a couple times, get the ball out of his hands quick on those first down situations. But that'd be kind of the game plan that, Spags and them, I think, have to take this week.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point because it does seem like you mentioned earlier, you said it. I mean, third and longs, when he's in a position where, it's not an easy conversion and maybe he gets a little pressure and is rolling out, that's when he's going to put it up deep and give you a chance at a pick, or he's going to try to force something, or just keep trying to run and you can force a fumble. That's a good point. Any final thoughts, Nate, on the Bills kind of as we look ahead here? We're a few days away.
Yeah, so the blitzing is interesting because I'll pivot back to this. The interesting thing about the Joe Brady, Ken Dorsey thing is like Joe Brady has done a good job kind of establishing the run game, but that's come at the sacrifice that he doesn't know how to use Stephon Diggs. And it's like a very weird thing because like I don't think Stephon Diggs looks like old to me when I watch him. I still think he's getting separation, and like certainly Allen isn't just like their chemistry isn't falling apart, but I don't think he knows how to like get the timing right between Allen and Diggs in a way. So from my perspective, I would blitz more because if their timing's a little bit off, especially when you have a corners like McDuffie and Snead, that's where Allen likes to go with a lot of his free access throws. And if you could take that away, that makes it a little more, it makes it easier to defend them because they have integrated Dalton Kincaid and Khalil Shakir more, but they're not thinking like special. Like the Chiefs can stop them in man. So that's kind of the main thing for me is like, yeah, Allen's going to break a few of your blitzes. Like that's just, he's that style of player. Like all his blitz stats are as good as Mahomes. I was looking at them all this week, but it's a percentage game, right? If you can win 5 out of 10, then that's probably worth it at a point when you're facing a caliber quarterback you have in here. So I would blitz. And if they beat us a ton with Allen and Diggs and they're working this week, then you can make your adjustments. But I would start there and see kind of where that takes you over the course of a game.
It's interesting because I think anecdotally, you're right. Stephon hasn't done much. And then you look at the stats and you're right. He has not gotten to 100 yards since week 6. And he is not. And he scored only 1 touchdown or maybe 2 in that span, but 1 touchdown in the last 10 or so games. Very interesting. Very good point there. And it's not going to get any easier with L'Jarius on him. And so, I think the key, I think we all just talked about, I think the keys are the linebackers, the guys around the line of scrimmage, in terms of, the defensive line too, in terms of keeping Josh at check, heating him up, making him make plays and the linebackers kind of picking up in coverage and making plays themselves when he does escape the pocket or do a run play. Going to be an exciting game, guys. Definitely looking forward to it. Hey, let's spoil the Bills season again. How fun would that be? Sending them home a third time in the AFC playoffs. They have not, haven't won the Super Bowl yet. That'd be pretty fun to see Orchard Park disappointed on Sunday. So let's hope that's what we get. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks everyone for listening tonight. Appreciate everybody. Hopefully we're back next week showing you X's and O's from the Chiefs win over the Bills, and we're looking ahead to an AFC championship. I imagine it would be against Baltimore, but hey, you never know. Houston could pull it off. So we'll see how that goes. Appreciate everyone watching. Appreciate everyone listening. We will catch you next week. Thank you very much.